If you've been around the web for any length of time as a developer, you realize that building a quality, reliable web application is really hard. And there's a bunch of historical reasons for this. First of all, when JavaScript first came out, it was never envisioned that we'd be building something as complicated as what we're building now. Applications that in the 90s, like Excel, were desktop applications and were presumably written in traditional languages like C++ or C or other things, which admittedly also have their issues, but that's the point, were not something that JavaScript was intended to do. JavaScript was really intended for doing things like checking form inputs. I remember the first JavaScript application I saw, and application should be in quotes here, and it was on a bank or credit union website, and it was like a loan calculator. It said, I want to borrow $10,000 at 5% interest over a course of 3 years. What will my monthly payment be? Well, in a couple form fields, and you put some numbers in, you pushed a button, and it would tell you. And that's lovely. That's a useful thing to have. But JavaScript was written quickly and pushed out the door quickly to be in Netscape Navigator version 2 back in the dawn of time. And yes, I'm old enough to remember that. Things got added onto it because people wanted this feature or that feature to be added. And there was never a long-term thought of what are we building? In addition, most kinds of development, if you're building a server application, you can specify uniquely, all right, this is going to run on this kind of server with this software installed and like that. With JavaScript apps, you not only have to say, well, you have multiple versions of a web browser you might have to handle, but you have multiple web browsers. You may have Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Firefox, in the old days, Explorer. So there's a lot of complexity in building something that would just work at all. In addition, the weak typing, along with many choices that were made in the early days of JavaScript to simplify coding for beginners, for example, making vars and semicolons optional, mean that it is great for small little things like checking if a form input is not blank, but kind of becomes a nightmare for larger things. What people have done is layered things like Flow and TypeScript and frameworks and such on top of JavaScript in an attempt to make it better. And this has helped to some extent, but it can't really resolve the problem that the basic foundation, JavaScript itself, is kind of poor. What Elm does is says, we're just going to treat JavaScript as a compile target. Nothing in Elm semantically depends on JavaScript, again, except as a compile target. So what that means is the Elm platform, Elm community can simply take everything 20 years of history that JavaScript is stuck with and ignore it and make what are correct, hopefully correct decisions for the types of applications people are writing in 2017, not in 1997 or 2004. But we can't break the web. So that is one of the reasons why Elm is such a huge advantage, and that it was able to start with a clean slate.